Let me just begin by stating that the footage presented in this video is not mine. I do not own Sonic Generations, nor do I claim ownership of the character Sonic the Hedgehog itself. Sonic the Hedgehog is copyright of Sega and Sonic Team, and I am in no way associated or affiliated with either of them. I am making this of my own free will, and nobody is losing a profit because of me. In addition, any actual gameplay shown within the entire duration of this video belongs to the respective recorders, whom I will credit in the description. I am not the one playing Sonic Generations in the footage you see, because I do not have the necessary equipment to record gameplay footage. If I could, I would get the footage myself, but that is not an option for me. I don't want people to start believing it is an option just because they see gameplay here. It's not mine. I am simply borrowing the footage from YouTube videos for demonstrative purposes only, and I therefore give credit to the original players themselves. And if this video still gets removed after I've just forced all of that out of my mouth, then YouTube really needs to reevaluate its policy on the use of copyrighted material. But then again, it's owned by Google now, so what do they care? Whatever. Unlike most critics and professional reviewers on the internet, I am not going to introduce this topic in the way I see a lot of people introduce a video about Sonic nowadays. I am not going to give you a lengthy history lesson about Sonic's history and the quality roller coaster the franchise has been taking for the last several years. I'm not going to bore you by emphasizing the fact that many have regarded Sonic as not as good as he used to be. We are all fully aware of what Sonic's been through since Sega dropped out of the console market. Yet people still seem to love mocking the history just so they can force out a lame joke that really adds nothing to their discussion whatsoever. I have my own opinions regarding the franchise's trends to be sure, but it's irrelevant at the moment because frankly, I'm sure you really don't care to hear about it. Unless I'm mistaken, you came here for one reason and one reason only, to see what I think of Sonic Generations, not listen to me vent about how Sonic is apparently a shadow of his former, black-pupiled, short, chubby self. Instead, I would just like to make sure you realize what you're getting into before watching this video. I'm going to be analyzing Sonic Generations as a standalone game. I want to look at it for what it is, what Sonic Generations does right and what it does wrong. I'm not going to be constantly making comparisons every other sentence of this game to other past Sonic titles, even if they are similar, because I absolutely despise when people like IGN do this whenever Sonic is the topic of discussion. It disgusts me when people can't simply examine something for what it really is, but instead they resort to making endless comparisons to things that it really isn't anything similar to because it's trying to be a new experience. I was never much of a Sonic fan growing up, and even though I enjoyed this game very much, I still don't think of myself as a die-hard fan. Since I haven't played very much of a lot of Sonic's games, I don't feel it's right for me to compare this game to previous ones since I have very little experience with the latter. Don't get me wrong, I have been playing Sonic's games since SA2, but not in very much depth. I don't know as much about the games as people who have completed them and seen everything there is to see about them have, so I don't feel qualified to make comparisons. That, and it just pisses me off when people always have to compare Sonic's games together instead of treating them as separate experiences as they were meant to be. Look, I know you guys don't like to listen to these lengthy disclaimers, and I don't enjoy giving them, but I have to. This is YouTube, a playground for society's worst and individuals with very short attention spans. If I don't explain myself, I'm going to get bombarded with stupid questions and ill-founded accusations. We're better off this way if I explain it now instead of having to do so later in the comments. Meanwhile, back in the realm of relevance, Sonic Generations is the official game commemoration of Sonic's 20th anniversary, released in 2011 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Sega has actually decided to listen to the prayers of the retro elitists by bringing back classic roly-poly Sonic from the Genesis games, appropriately named Classic Sonic. That leaves the Sonic design that we've seen from Sonic Adventure up to Colors to be referred to as Modern Sonic. Basically, a really bad excuse for a story pulls these two Sonics together into one game to try and please both the 2D and 3D Sonic fans. I'm kidding, the story isn't that bad. Basically, Sonic's friends plan a surprise party for what I'm guessing is Sonic's 20th birthday. I don't know, they never actually mention his canon age. Everything's all well and good until a big scary plot device comes out of nowhere and kidnaps all of Sonic's friends and traps them in this empty limbo. The plot device, also referred to as the Time Eater, tears across time, draining Sonic's world of life and color. Oh noes. Once classic meets modern, the two tailses, discover that the Sonics restore time by running really fast. So they have to relive moments from their past and stop the plot device before it does any more damage than it's already done. I'll be fair, I never expect much of a story from a Sonic game, but this one was just not even trying. I can forgive Sega for the fact that, come on, with the concept of Sonic meeting his past self, were we honestly caring that much about the story at the time that we first heard about this game? Not really. Let's face it, when we were more excited about experiencing two Sonic styles in one game first, and then seeing what excuse Sega would come up with to explain it. The story isn't what intrigued us in Sonic Generations in the first place, so it isn't that important, and I'm willing to let it go. Gameplay is always supposed to be more important than the story when it comes to video games. They are meant to be played. If all you care about is the story, read a book. There's millions of them. As for the rest of us, we enjoy games for their gameplay, as it should be. However, as much as I really shouldn't care about the story, I can't help but feel that there are a lot of missed opportunities here. The premise here could have prompted writing that is clever and brimming with interesting references that fans could have appreciated. If this is a game about reliving Sonic's past, fans probably would have loved to see Sonic and Tails walk away from each stage with some witty comment about all the directions the series has been taking over the years. Look, when I first saw the cutscene after finishing Green Hill Zone, I enjoyed the fact that Sonic recognized Green Hill Zone, but Tails didn't because he didn't appear until Sonic 2. But he did recognize Chemical Plant Zone because he was in Sonic 2. I expected the whole game to be like that, but after Chemical Plant Zone, it just feels like they gave up. I would have loved to see them make jokes about the gimmicks Sega has tried over the years. Maybe Sonic and Tails could have mocked the team aspect of Sonic Heroes, or the Werehog of Unleashed. Tails could say something like, "I remember it being a lot easier to keep up with you back then, Sonic." Or Sonic could say, "Thank goodness it was daytime." Just some food for thought. I mean, they did make a reference to secret rings and colors, and that's great, but I feel like they could have done so much more. The story could have been really entertaining to watch as Sega pokes fun at its past mistakes, or just gives references to things that fans would recognize and appreciate. The story they have isn't bad, I just think it could have been a lot better. That's all. But now we get into what really matters, the gameplay. Sonic Generations is completely comprised of stages from past Sonic games. Not all of Sonic's games in the entire franchise, just the most important ones, from Sonic 1 up to Colors. Each stage is comprised of 2 acts. Act 1 is Classic Sonic. It's 2D platforming that is reminiscent of the Genesis games. I never played Sonic 1, 2, or 3, so I'll leave it up to you to decide how closely it emulates the style, because I have no idea. And Act 2 is Modern Sonic, with the 3D Hedgehog engine first used in Sonic Unleashed, complete with boosting, sidestepping, and occasionally switching to 2D platform segments. I personally prefer the modern stages, but that doesn't mean I didn't have fun with Classic Sonic. The only reason I prefer Modern Sonic is just because that's what I grew up with. I was first introduced to Sonic through the adventure games, where he had the modern look. If I had been born during the time of the Sega Genesis, I probably would have preferred Classic Sonic, but that's just not the way it is. But just because I prefer Modern Sonic does not mean I think he's better than Classic Sonic. I do not see either Sonic as inferior to each other in any way. How can I? They're the exact same person. I am simply stating that if given a choice between the two, my personal preference lies with Modern Sonic. I'm not trying to start any flame wars here, and I know there is one between Classic and Modern, and which Sonic is better. They're the same person, get over it. But which Sonic you prefer is most likely going to depend on what year you started playing Sonic. But the fact that they brought the two styles together was a glorious idea, because it unites the two types of fans together and gives them each something to enjoy and very little to complain about. But, that won't really stop them from nitpicking at something stupid. Oh well, always worth a try in my book. The stages contain some of the best platforming I have seen in a Sonic game in recent memory. It's challenging and engaging, and the branching routes encourage multiple playthroughs just to see how many ways you can finish a level. And they actually give you enough time to see them coming and react accordingly this time. And in traditional Sonic fashion, the higher routes are more difficult to stay up on, and they get more stable as you ascend. I admit that at first I loved the thrill of boosting as Modern Sonic, and just going so ridiculously fast. It felt like a roller coaster. But what I really liked about the modern stages is that the game trains you to occasionally stop and platform. It requires at least some skill to progress. Not a lot of skill. Yes, your grandmother could probably play this game, but it takes some skill. You cannot simply just boost to win this game, and I love that. It would have made things far too easy and boring if you could just simply hold a button and speed through everything. It felt rewarding to earn the freedom to just rocket through an open space after accomplishing some intricate platforming. Sonic is more about platforming first, then speed, and this game has excellent platforming in both 2D and 3D perspectives. The stages they picked are okay. They picked some of the fan favorites like Chemical Plant and City Escape, but it just feels like this game could have used a little more variety in scenery. I mean, look at this. We've got open field, open field, open field, and then you've got city, 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 city. I mean, come on, where's the variety? The levels themselves are fine. I've got no objections with what they picked, but I wouldn't have minded seeing something like a desert or a snow level or even one in space. I mean, Sonic has been in more than just a freaking city and an open field, for crying out loud. They could have brought in something like Pyramid Cave or White Acropolis or Final Rush. The constant change of scenery would have been great, but again, the levels they picked are fine. In fact, it's nice to see that they actually rebuilt the levels from the ground up instead of just porting them from the original games. They updated each level to accommodate the two different styles, and it works fabulously. I enjoyed the boss battles a lot. I thought each of them were unique and vast improvements from the previous incarnations. I like the fact that they incorporated boosting into the Sonic vs. Shadow fight, and that Sonic can now defeat Perfect Chaos without going supersonic, thus showing he has gotten stronger over the years. That's badass. The only real problem I have with this game is the fact that there's only 9 levels in the entire game. You've got a stage from Sonic 1 through 3 for the Genesis era, a level from each of the adventure games, and Heroes for the Dreamcast era, even though Heroes was not on the Dreamcast, but it had to go somewhere, and a level from the infamous 06, Unleashed, and finally Colors. This is a Sonic game. Sonic runs very fast, and the stages are not that long. Having so few of them and little else makes this a very short game. You could easily sit down and complete the story in an afternoon. Sure, there's a few boss battles thrown in, but it's not like those take an hour to beat or anything. I understand the developers worked very hard on each stage, and including more would have meant the game would have taken longer to complete. But there was certainly room for much more here. I think maybe if they put in 2 levels from each game, that would have made the game much longer and even more enjoyable. Keep in mind, the short length is an issue that can be easily fixed with downloadable content. Heck, that's probably what they're working on right now. I hate paying for extra content that should have been included on the disc in the first place, but it's better than never getting the content at all. So, in this case, I'm willing to make an exception against my own opinion, and I am all for DLC for Sonic Generations. Just saying that right now. After you finish each level, you can explore a 2D white hub world of platforming and completing special missions. The missions have some variety, but not a lot. Most of them usually involve racing against a duplicate or something involving one of Sonic's friends. At least they put them to good use this time. By completing these challenges, you unlock extra goodies such as concept art and extra music. And oh my god, there is a lot of concept art, so get ready to unlock a lot of pictures. The challenges were alright. They were fairly challenging, but towards the end, I felt like I had to force myself through the rest of them. I just got bored doing them after a while. I'm not saying they shouldn't be there or that they're a waste of time. They're not. I just got bored after doing so many of them, and there wasn't really anything else to distract me in this game. The music is one of my favorite parts about this game. It's filled with amazing remixes of classic and well-known tracks from past Sonic games. I liked hearing modern versions of the Genesis songs, but the classic remixes of modern songs like City Escape were also very pleasing as well. But I really like the fact that they didn't just recycle the modern tracks for Act 2. They actually remixed the modern stage songs, and they sound better than ever. While I thought the vast majority of them were fantastic, there is one remix that I really did not like, and that's For True Story, the boss battle theme from Sonic Adventure 2. I just feel like the modern remix is slower, less frantic, and the beat just swallows up everything. I'm no music critic, but I think the original version has a more fast-paced, almost Matrix-style music, while the modern version just sounds like Just sounds like the background music for a rap battle. Here, listen to each and decide for yourself. What do you think? Which version do you prefer? And just like Brawl, Sonic Generations also takes many tracks from several past Sonic games. The games that didn't have a stage have at least one song included for representation. And you can replace the normal songs on each stage and play any song you want on that stage instead. If you want to listen to His World on Green Hill Zone, it's there. If you want to listen to Endless Possibilities on Sky Sanctuary Zone, that's also an option. Or maybe you want to listen to something a bit lesser known, like maybe a song from Sonic Riders. You can easily do that. I was pleasantly surprised to see that my favorite tune from Sonic Advance 2 was also included. That blew my mind. If there was to be any sort of fan service at all in Sonic Generations, it's most prevalent in the music section. Sonic has always been known to have great music, and that comes full force in this game. The voice acting was okay. I've really gotten used to Roger Craig Smith as the voice of Sonic, though, even though he hasn't been in that many games yet. With Roger voicing him, Sonic just sounds older, more mature, but at the same time, he retains that cocky and spirited attitude that he's known for. I'll even go out on a limb here and say that I like Roger voicing Sonic more than Ryan Drummond. Oh, darn it. With Kate Higgins, Tails sounds like the boy, which is a good thing. Eggman is still voiced by Mike Pollock, and while he does sound more menacing this time, I still think his voice in the adventure games made him the most badass he's ever sounded.
You fool. Away, before I make mincemeat out of you. You thought you could trick me with that fake emblem, didn't you?
So, how did you know it wasn't the real one?
Tails! Because you just told me, Fox Boy.
Rest in peace, Dean Bristow. You will be missed. I wasn't surprised by the fact that Classic Sonic doesn't talk, because back then he didn't have a voice actor. I suppose Classic Tails was just given a voice so they could communicate. It would be awkwardly one-sided if the moderns could talk but not the classics. And I really didn't care about the voices of Sonic's friends. They're all fine, but Shadow leaves a little to be desired.
You got this, Sonic.
Yeah, he needs work. The graphics in Sonic Generations are simply gorgeous. The levels have so much color and backgrounds that go on for miles. There are plenty of nice lighting and shadow effects. The character models look decent enough. I guess there's only so much you can do to cartoony anthropomorphic characters to give them detail. I believe that the reason a Wii version was not made of this game because they wanted this game to be in HD, and honestly, I think it looks a lot better with it than without it. I think developers are getting tired of making downgraded ports for the Wii, honestly. Hopefully that will change with the Wii U. E3 2012, Nintendo, you better blow us away this time. You've got a lot to prove with this new system. But that's a video for another time. So what do I think of Sonic Generations overall? It's a fantastic game. It's not the greatest Sonic game ever, but it's the most fun I've had with Sonic since SA2. Sonic Generations is a love letter to Sonic fans everywhere. If you've had any history with Sonic to any degree, there's most likely something in this game you'll enjoy. Would I recommend this game? Somewhat. I don't think you should go out and buy it right now. It only has the story mode, the side missions, and the online leaderboards. But other than that, there really isn't a ton of content to warrant a $60 purchase. But I can be proven wrong. Try the game for yourself, rent it, buy it cheap if you can, borrow it from a friend, whatever. I'm not saying I regret buying it for $60, but I wouldn't recommend you take a leap of faith and buy it at that price. Wait for it to go down to maybe $40 or so. It's a good game, it's just a bit on the short side and needs a little more content for its price. But long story short, I really enjoyed Sonic Generations. I hope to see more Sonic games like this. I think Sega has a clear picture about what works with Sonic now, and I hope they'll take their discoveries and run with it for future Sonic titles. It may not be perfect, but congrats, Sonic. You finally got one right. This is a game that was 20 years in the making. So to the Blue Blur I say, live long and prosper. Well, that's all I have to say about Sonic Generations. I realize the video started to get a bit sloppy around the voice acting segment, but there's only so much I can say without saying something controversial or cheesy. And if you didn't laugh at any of my jokes, cut me some slack. I'm at least trying this time. Anyways, with all this said, I'd like to bring this analysis to a close. Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, this is Brawlmaster012 saying, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.